What's up everybody? Bill with Honest Open Permaculture, Hot Farm. We are back underneath the house with the worm farm. We need to check on it. It's been quite a while since I've shown you guys the worm farm. Last time I did a video, I wanted to harvest worm castings in the next video. It's the next video, but I'm not harvesting worm castings. Let's talk about it. So actually, I need some advice from people that are more knowledgeable about worms than me. I live in North Carolina, very humid. We're 100% humidity at the moment, and my worm castings are soggy or wet. Everything in this bin is not like really overly wet. Let me break into it and show you. How am I gonna separate these worm castings when everything's, you know, really humid, really moist, really wet? So here you go. Here's what we're looking at, just the top couple of inches. We got worms in it, really broken down leaves and worm castings. But that's what I'm struggling with right now, guys, is figuring out how to collect the worm castings in this humidity. How to separate the worm castings from the little particulates of leaves and food that's in here. And from the worms. Now I've done a little bit of research. Some people say you can cut it with coconut coir or you can cut it with peat moss. Of course, peat moss is not as renewable as coconut coir, so if you're going to use one of the two, if you want something more renewable, use the coconut coir is what people tell me. But is that cutting my worm casting, you know, the potency of my worm castings, now that I'm cutting it with something else to soak up the moisture so I can then separate it from the worms and from the, you know, the little leaves and the food particles? I don't know. I don't, if that's my only choice, then I guess I'll have to, but I don't want to have to buy something to be able to get my worm castings out. Is there a way to dry them? I even tried, you can see back here, covering this half with cardboard to try to get the worms to migrate to this side, just feeding them in this little like 1/4 quarter of the bathtub to try to get them to move over, and see if them not going through it, them leaving it alone will do anything. I tried putting a little heater underneath it and turning it on to try drying stuff out, but it is still pretty moist in here, guys. Like, I'm stumped right now on how I'm gonna separate this stuff. I even thought about seasons, you know what I mean? Are we in the fall and the winter, our humidity drops a lot in the south, so is it a seasonal thing? Do I need to try to harvest these worm castings in not the summer or the spring when it's really humid? Maybe I just work on building worm castings all the way up, you know, just filling this thing completely, because right now it's half full, and just during the humid times, feed the worms, get them populated. During the not humid times, harvest from it. Please guys, let me know down in the comments if you got any good tricks, tips, or have heard of anybody in the same scenario and what they did about it. Let's get in this thing, let's do an inspection, see what it looks like, see what the worms look like, how many worms we have in there, if there's any intruders, if there's any mold, if they need food. Let's get in there and look at it real good. We're supposed to take this piece of cardboard out of here first. I did notice some roly-polies in here, which is okay. I don't mind a roly-poly. Tried to come in here and just brush these top little leaves over to this side to try to get nothing but worm castings on this side. And just push their food, which is the leaves right now, over here to this side. I'm also feeding them some chicken layer feed. So this is my way of slowly separating as I push the big ones, the big particles to one side, and the worms come over and they eat. Hopefully they eat from this side, but what I've been noticing, they're still all in this. Let me pull this out. It's hard to see in here. See if we can get this over here to help a little bit.
see down in there, nice and good. I mean, it's really, really, really moist. It's just kind of, I mean, it shouldn't be, look, it shouldn't be dripping that much. So I'm really not sure how to dry this stuff out, guys. I think that's my only problem at the moment. It is packed full of worm castings and worms everywhere. So let's dig down on this side and see what the food area looks like. Still see eggshell, bunch of leaves. They have a lot to eat off of. There's still some paper. I did notice, look, okay, there is one bug here. So we're gonna add a little DE. We don't want these guys. I do see a couple ants running around, so we don't want ants to start making a home in here. So we're gonna spread a little bit of DE, diatomaceous earth, around on top. It'll be okay for the worms. It's not gonna hurt the worms. And I'll also put a little DE, diatomaceous earth, around the edge, just to kind of deter any of the bugs once they hit the edge from going in. Those of you who don't know what DE is diatomaceous earth, like I said. It is a fossilized plant. I'm pretty sure it's a diatom that has been fossilized, and then we collect it, crush it into a powder. And how it works, I shouldn't be breathing that in. Hold on one second. So yeah, you shouldn't be breathing that in. It's not good for the lungs. It's because it's really, really fine particles. And look at it under a microscope, you can see how jagged, and it just looks like a piece of broken glass. And when a creature with an exoskeleton, like an ant or that little centipede thing that I saw, runs across this, it nicks their exoskeleton. They start to dry out because they're like, it's almost like a death by 1,000 cuts. Doesn't mess with the worms. The worms can actually digest it like we can. It's good for us. We can digest it. It's good for our gut. It's good for your animals, your pigs, your chickens, your goats, your sheep, your everything. It'll clean out the gut of your animals. If they have parasites, it helps clean them out. The DE is a great thing to keep around on the homestead or the farm for multiple different uses. And that's the only thing we're gonna do. We just checked on it. We gave it what it needed. It definitely doesn't need any moisture. Just give me some ideas, guys. What do you think I need to do? I also thought about maybe turning this whole thing, like coming in and just turning it all the way over and flipping it, turning the wet stuff on, the most wet stuff onto the top, and just, you know, giving it some air that way to hopefully help dry it out, along with the heater underneath, along with, I don't know, brainstorm with me, guys. Let me know down in the comments. I'm stuck. If you haven't already, please smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll check you on the next one. Later, guys.